It's time to unleash the expert. What is he an expert on? Relationships, sex, spirituality, and rediscovering yourself beyond the trauma. Get ready to unleash more purpose, passion, and pleasure in your life. Here's the expert himself, Mr. Brannon Patrick.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Brannon Patrick Show. I'm excited for this installment of the show, and I say let's just get going. So there's a lot going on in the world right now. We are, as of today, now this will come out a few days from now, but as of today, we're about 6 days away from Election Day, and so there's a lot of energy going on around here. I would say some pretty toxic energy happening because there's such just political divide going on in our country and with people all around us. So I want to talk about a principle that applies both to how we handle things when it comes to things like politics, but also how we handle things when it comes to things like our marriage, and show you how this principle applies to both. I want to start with a Chinese proverb. It says, "He who blames others has a long way to go on his journey. He who blames himself is halfway there. He who blames no one has arrived." It's fascinating to me, having been a therapist for a long time now, when I see somebody's relationship end up in a place where they look at each other as if they aren't even human, that they are just disgusting, horrible, awful human beings. They're not even human. They're just nasty. And it's interesting because they married that person. At one point, they had huge admiration for that person. And now they're at this place in life where everything they do revolts them, just makes them sick. We get to a place where we dehumanize people just because we disagree. And because we lack an ability to actually have compassion and understand and see humanity, we dehumanize. And in that process, we feel justified in it. For good reason, we're there. And we become the very thing that we just cannot stand. I've seen it happen in politics. I've seen it happen in business relationships. You know, how many partnerships have ended poorly? And it ends in this place where each person thinks the other person is just greedy and dishonest and all of these things. But somewhere along the way, they started the business together and they liked each other. And then it happens with sports all the time. I'm justified to say things to rival teams and fans and things. I'm justified to do that because they deserve it. They deserve it. They're the enemy. I'd never walk into work and say certain things, but at a football game, it's like, let it rip. Why? Why is it okay to hate? If somebody disagrees with you, why does it have to turn into hatred? So I have several quotes that I want to go over today and talk about this principle. And I got to warn you, as you listen, if it being the week of the election, if you really are in a place where you just want to hate, you might not like some of these quotes because they will call you out. But I hope that they will call you up, that you will check yourself for a moment, take a look in the mirror and realize what kind of human being do you want to show up as. And I'm not saying everybody is caught in this hatred thing and everybody's caught in this divisiveness all around us, but many people are. So whether this is happening in your marriage, whether this is happening with your politics, or on Sundays at the football game, I hope you check yourself and see if you're actually getting caught up in this. So first quote, and this, you guys, all of this comes from the Arbinger group, one of my favorite books, The Anatomy of Peace. That book is about empowerment beyond getting caught in victim and blame. It's about understanding your ability to create love, regardless of what others do all around you. And it does a great job. I would recommend everybody to read The Anatomy of Peace. It does a great job at teaching complex principles that we can't otherwise understand, but we know are true. That's why I really love that book, because it dissects it to a point where it's like, oh yeah. And then it gives you tools and it shows you how to not stay stuck. So I recommend The Anatomy of Peace. And I think it being this week, we all should actually read it this week. First quote from the Anatomy of Peace. When we start seeing others as objects, we begin provoking them to make our own lives difficult. We actually start inviting others to make us miserable. We begin provoking in others the things we say we hate. If you want to see this happening, just hop over on social media. One side will make a post and jab in one way, which will then incite a reaction from the other side, which justifies and shows them how horrible the other side is. And so they get all worked up and how dare they, react in that way. So now we're going to react. And they go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. When I see you as an object and I start provoking you, then I start to create things all around myself that I hate. This is on me. So it's like let's say in a marriage, let's whittle this down to a very micro level here. Let's say I start getting some disdain, some hatred, I start objectifying my partner in a way. When I say objectifying her, I'm not talking sexually or anything like that. I'm talking about, I don't see her humanity. I don't see her goodness, her natural goodness, her infinite worth anymore. I just see her as this thing that annoys me. Okay. So when I get to that point and she's just a thing that annoys me, then I'm justified to have whatever thoughts I need to have about her, because I'm so right and she's so wrong. So then I go home and I have these feelings toward her, and she gets mad at me for not cleaning up around the house a little bit. And then she leaves something out. And when she leaves something out, I just can't stand it because she just got mad at me. So, that just makes me so mad. So now I'm justified. I'm going to go passive aggressively leave a bunch of stuff out to show her that she can't control me. And, if she's going to leave stuff out, then I'm going to too. And I hate that she's telling me that I shouldn't leave stuff out. So what do? I passive aggressively leave stuff out to tell her that she shouldn't leave stuff out. I'm the cause of my suffering at this point because I've allowed myself to hate her. I'm the one creating discord. And I'm not saying she doesn't have accountability for herself. And, in this scenario that I'm giving, it goes both ways for both partners. Each individual is in charge of their own ability to step into their power and to create peace in their life. Each individual. But if I engage in that, then I definitely am a part of that, and I definitely am creating that. Just like the Chinese proverb says. So it's really fascinating. We create the very thing that we hate. So Republicans, Democrats, they hate people who are out of touch, who won't look at reality, who skew things to make their points. So they hate that. And so what they do is they go out and they talk in the media and they talk on social media and they try to incite the other side to do those things to show how that's who they are. Yet they hate that at the same time. What they don't want is actual, like, working together, actual, like, friendship and coming together and making things work so that we can get good solutions. Okay, next quote here. Seeing an equal person as an inferior object is an act of violence. It's a pretty bold statement there. Like, I don't even need to do anything. I'm not swinging punches. But just seeing that equal person as an inferior object is violence. I agree with that statement. It is attacking, it is aggressive, it is nasty. Because how dare I turn that person into a thing, into somebody that is less than a human? And I'm trying to do it to then justify my behaviors. But wait, Brannon, but wait. What if they are evil? What if they do have views that harm society, harm our family, harm, like, what if they are? Shouldn't I fight against them? And because that's the justification that we get caught up in is, well, they're so wrong. I have to get them to that point where I can fight against as hard as I possibly want to or can, right? There is a way that you can absolutely stand up against things that are hurtful and harmful and still see the other side as humans with worth, with infinite worth. And everyone's like, well, yeah, I know, I do that. No, like, do you really? No conflict can be solved so long as all parties are convinced they are right. Solution is possible only when at least one party begins to consider how they might be wrong. It's beautiful when a couple comes together and they both sit down and they say, what part of this is mine? How have I created the issue here? I want to learn and consider where I might be wrong. I've heard it said that, you want to lose all your arguments because if you win them, you don't learn anything. This isn't falling on the knife. It's not taking accountability when you shouldn't, when, just to own something and take accountability. It's not that. It's staying honest, but it's genuine humility to stop, take a step back and say, what part of this is mine? We're so unconscious of the ways that we're operating in the world that oftentimes we have a difficult time seeing what we're creating. And when a person with an opposing view comes by and has an interaction with you, it's an opportunity to start to see some of that unconsciousness that you have, because their opposing view is bringing up your reaction and your response. Their opposing view is making you automatically try to deal with that. And in that moment, if there's conflict and they say, whoa, like you're reacting this way or that way, or, I'd really just like to have a conversation. If you have enough humility to say, whoa, I did, that's interesting. I did create some drama here. I did create some hatred here. And I'm sorry, but I want to own that. If you can do that, your ability to then stay in a conversation and connect to the other person is much increased. It gives it a chance. And I hate to tell whoever's listening out there, you're not always right. I hate to tell you, you've been wrong many, many times. And those people reflecting that back to you, at those times when you felt so justified and you just went to town on them because you knew you were right, like that kind of sucks. I like this quote a lot, and it takes. I think it takes like having done this, it takes experience to understand what this quote actually truly means. Again, from the Anatomy of Peace, it says, "In conflict, as in magic, the real action occurs where people are not looking." So I'm going to read that again. So in conflict, as in magic, the real action occurs where people are not looking. So what that means is there's those like parts deep down inside of us that are able to take accountability, able to see the humanity in the other person, practice compassion, forgiveness, patience, understanding. Like those are deep down inside of us. And a lot of times what happens in conflict is what is front and center is who's right and who's wrong. Let me tell you that I'm right. Let me tell you that I'm right. And the magic happens underneath there, inside of that individual, to be able to have that strength to tap into those things that I just listed. That's emotional intelligence. That is, it's how we create love. What you're saying to me, I don't see the world that way. That doesn't make sense to me. However, I see your goodness. I love you. I could be wrong. I'll listen. I'll be patient and I'll listen. I'll try to understand. I don't need to agree, but I'll try to understand. I want to care. Like I really want you to feel like I truly do care, even if I disagree with you. Like I want to care. And that's the magic. That's the invisible stuff underneath that's beautiful. That I hate to say this, in our politics we don't have. There's a bunch of one-dimensional people running around, not tapping into that magic stuff deep down inside, and just trying to win the argument. Another quote here: "Most problems in life are not solved merely by correction." This is where we really get it wrong. We think that if I have conflict or a disagreement, then I need to show you and correct you and show you why you're wrong and why I'm right. And if you actually see that I'm right, then everything will be okay. It's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. Now, in certain situations, in things like science and law, there are principles that are adhered to. And there's not much ambiguity, or nothing is very subjective, or at least we try to make it in law and things like that, where things are not subjective. It just is. It's this way or it's that way. This is the law. Science, we try to figure out the scientific method and figure out this is the way things are. But in relationship, it doesn't work that way, because we all have our own perspectives. I've talked about this a lot. We all have our own way of looking at things, viewing the world, understanding the world. And because we all have our own perspectives, we think that I'm going to bring my perspective to you and prove it to you and show you that I view the world the right way. And what we need to do is learn how to be fascinated and curious about other people's perspectives. That I can view the world this way, and it totally makes sense that you could view it differently. And I'd like to know how you view it differently, why you view it differently. I'd really like to understand that, because I'm just stuck in my own head, my own perspective here. I could learn a lot from you. And it's not fact, it's not science, it just is a means to interact with another human and see them and understand them. You say tomato, I say tomato. Okay, interesting. Who's right? Well, we both know what it means. So who's right? Well, I'm gonna just die on the cross here, just showing you that it's tomato. Why? Can't they think it's tomato? Isn't that okay? This is subjective. Okay. Here's my last quote for this episode. It says, I became an agent of change only to the degree that I began to help things go right, rather than simply to correct things that are going wrong. I think that's an awesome quote. If I'm, I different topics on the internet are really polarizing, and it's really interesting because people fall into their camps, and they then battle their battles, and they're known as like, I am this person that battles this battle. Okay. And then what they do is they just tear down the other side as much as they can, and they spend their days doing that. Are they helping things go right? Are they helping things get better? If I go to my wife and let's say she does something harmful or hurtful, and I just tell her how horrible she is, am I helping things go right? What if I let her know how I feel, and then I work with her on how to not do that again? And what's underneath that? And why did that happen? Versus just tell her how horrible she is. It's the same in politics. We're seeing it right now big time, where it's like, okay, let's talk about the solutions. Let's talk about the policies so that things can get better, versus talking about how horrible the other person is, how terrible they are. Like, that's not helpful. Like, you're not a part of the solution if you're just stuck in the They suck. So vote for me. Okay, well, that's great. They suck, but like, let's talk about the solution here. Same principle, same concept, happens in marriage, happens in politics. Um, it happens in sports. It happens wherever there is disagreement. Now, sometimes conflict is important. And can you be on a battlefield in a war, shooting, trying to kill another human being, and have love in your heart for that human being? Is there a way for you to hold true to a principle, but still resonate in compassion for your enemy? Love your enemy. I believe that there is. And it sucks that you might have to lob a bullet their way to fight for the principle. That sucks because they're a human, and it hurts worse to shoot a bullet in their direction when I have compassion for them. And that principle that I'm fighting for is so important that I will hold strong to it. But I don't need to hate them. I don't need to hate them in order to stand strong in that principle. I'm only harming myself. I'm only creating discord all around me. I'm only provoking the very things that I don't like by using hatred to justify fighting on that battlefield. You guys, spread love. Spread love this week. Love one another. We're all different. We're all beautiful. We're all good. So be kind out there. Just be kind to each other and hold some space, give some empathy, and that's it, you guys. See ya.